Good afternoon. Welcome to Inside Indiana Sports Now with Kent Sterling. It's Tuesday, March 30th, 2021. We're brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry, Dr. Mike O'Neill, the best dentist that there is, the only dentist I've had the last 27 years. Call him. Avail yourself of his services. You will thank me for it. 317-849-2933. We're going to talk to three Colts assistant coaches in just a few moments. Scott Milanovich, who's the quarterback's coach, Press Taylor, senior offensive assistant, and Scottie Montgomery, who's the running backs coach. We'll talk to all three momentarily. First, a few notes about Indiana basketball. Durham has decided that he will continue his college basketball journey, not at Indiana University. He's going to enroll at Providence College. Al has played his 4 years. He's got a fifth year. Good for him. He's been a good Hoosier. I hope Hoosier fans will support him when he's at Providence. I've heard, I have not confirmed this, that Joey Brunk will be back with the Hoosiers next year for his sixth year of eligibility, that he had a meeting last night with Mike Woodson. The meeting went well, and he is ready to re-up with the Hoosiers. That is a good thing. Couple of NFL notes. A 17-game season has been approved by ownership, so that will start in 2021. A 17th season, it's awkward when home games and away games are not going to be equal. The 16-game schedule is a thing of beauty. Somehow or another, the NFL has decided, you know what, we're going to try 17, and we know why. It's all about the cash. It's always about the cash. All right, let's talk to Indianapolis Colts assistants. And first up, quarterbacks coach Scott Milanovich. Scott, as a quarterbacks coach, how do you go about getting the best out of Carson Wentz?
I mean, honestly, I think that'll be a work in progress as I get to know him. From other than what I see on film, just working with him. What is he like an individual? What concepts does he like? What throws does he like? What drops? All those things will take me a little bit of time that hopefully Frank and Press have an idea on now. But I don't really have a straight up answer for that until I get to know the player a little bit better.
Scott, I'm guessing because Carson Wentz and Frank Reich have been around the block before, this question really doesn't necessarily need to be asked or answered. But how do you make a quarterback comfortable quickly in a new system?
One, going back once again to what plays does he like, what concepts does he like? And then another is, from my perspective, is making sure that his drops are really tied in with his primary read. So meaning keeping him on rhythm is that his drop time's up where he can take 3 and a hitch from the gun or 5 from the gun. And when he does that, he's perfectly on time with his first read so that he doesn't have to wait or rush or do all those other things. Now, Carson's athletic, so if the timing's off, he can adjust, which is a great thing. But I think ideally from the guy sitting in my chair, you're just more accurate, you're just more consistent if you're timed up and in rhythm with whatever throw it is that you're going to make.
How complete or incomplete is your evaluation of Jacob Eason as a backup quarterback potentially?
It's pretty incomplete. I've watched him at Washington. I watched his, not preseason, his training camp stuff. I watched a couple of the scrimmages he played in and did some really nice things. He obviously is big arm, can make all the throws, but until I don't know, Kevin, if that's even just for me. That may be Marcus and Frank. Also, until you see a guy play, it's really hard to make a good evaluation. It's too bad for him that he didn't get a little bit more opportunity as a rookie to kind of get his feet wet and see where we're at. But I'm looking forward to working with him.
All right, that's quarterbacks coach Scott Milanovich. Let's talk to senior offensive assistant Press Taylor. Press, first of all, what is a senior offensive assistant?
Yeah, it's obviously a little bit vague. I think I'm just here to contribute to whatever I can with this offense and the way things go, whether that's at times helping Frank, helping Marcus, helping Scott, helping Clayton or Mike Groh or any of those guys at any position. Whatever they see fit for me is what I'll do. I'm willing to do anything they want here to help the Colts and put us in the best position to win games.
Press, during your time in Philadelphia together with Carson Wentz, how did your relationship evolve? And when you came over here to the Colts, what did you think of the potential for trading for Carson Wentz?
I was there the day Carson came in for, the pre-draft interview process. So I was very familiar with him from that standpoint, and then was in the room the day he got there. And so we'd been in the room together for the last 5 years in that quarterback room. Like you said, my role had changed over the years, but I think being the assistant quarterback coach early on, you're kind of that go-between between the coaching staff and the players. So there may be something that he wasn't comfortable at the time. He was, third string quarterback when he started. Maybe something he wasn't comfortable asking through the install, that he'd kind of slide up next to you and, hey, what'd they mean when they said this? What'd they mean when they said that? And you so I think as a young coach, you develop a relationship with guys that way. And then just as things move forward in my career and I continue to be promoted to move up the chain within our offense, we were always working side by side, and I became the quarterback coach. We're working side by side. We have a lot of history through the years. So as something would come up, as a play would come up, an install, an idea would come up, we had a lot of history to draw upon. So something would happen, we'd suggest a play. Well, hey, remember when this came up? This is why we did this. It kind of leads to that. So that's just kind of the benefit of being together and having a lot of experience together. Something that I hope we can draw upon here in our experience in Indy as well. So I'm looking forward to that. And then our relationship, I feel very good about the relationship that we had as player coach, and look forward to developing and keeping that going as we move forward here. And then, when I got here and the conversation eventually came around to, Carson may be available in a trade opportunity, I was maybe asked a question or two. What do you think? What happened? If I could provide context to 2020, that season, or his career before that, that's something that I wanted to do to help the organization. And then ultimately, Frank asked, do you believe in the player still and what he's capable of with everything that happened around in his past? And, that was a no-brainer for me. I absolutely 100% believe in Carson Wentz as a player, and excited about the opportunity here for him in Indy.
What was it that made the relationship between Carson and Frank Reich so good in Philadelphia?
Well, I think it's both guys that have a true passion for the game and developing, and then developing the players around them. Whether that's as a quarterback or as a coach, pouring into guys to help everybody kind of elevate their game for what's best for the team. And those two guys, there's a true passion for football. I mean, when they get together in a meeting room, it's going to be a lot of back and forth, a lot of conversation. Philosophically, the minute details of a certain play, of a footwork, of things like that, because they're so passionate about it. They both have personal philosophies on the things they like, they don't like. And so they're going to, I think with their relationship, they're able to go a little deeper in some of those conversations as well. That's what helps of having a past with somebody. You come in here and, they haven't worked together for the last few years, but I think it's going to be where they're able to pick up where they left off and keep moving forward in their relationship.
You mentioned that you believe in Carson Wentz 100%. Why?
I've seen him when he's playing at his best, when the pieces around him are working well, and what he can do to elevate those around him as well. I go back to even the 2019 kind of playoff run we made there at the end to get into the playoffs, I guess I'd say. When we were kind of piecemeal together with the injuries we had, and the way he played at the end of that season, the way he played obviously when he was fully healthy in 2017, the way he played even coming off an injury in 2018, things like that. And 2019 was its own, each season's its own season, let me say it that way. And so there were a lot of factors involved in each season and the way things go. And, ultimately it comes down to, I think he helps make the Colts better. So, I'll stand on the table for a player that I think can make us better and contribute to what we're going to do here.
That's senior offensive assistant Press Taylor. Now let's talk to Scottie Montgomery, the running backs coach. Scottie, when you look around the running back room, what do you want to see?
Versatility, but also high football IQ. I think that, as you look at tape, and when I first got here, the first thing you want to see is you not only want to see what the game footage shows, but you want to see what the practice footage shows. You want to see the practice habits. But collectively, one thing that you see over and over and over is football IQ. They did a great job in protection for the most part. Tremendous respect for the football and taking care of the football. And then, the one thing, the intangible that you can't see when you look at, tape, but just from listening to people that are in the building, is that they're care for one another. When one does well, the whole room does well. It's a very unique situation, and the type of people that we have in the room is also unique. No question whatsoever. There's such a level of competition in every room, but it's very rare to have a room where you see great competition and people happy for people competing and being able to execute at a high level.
All right, that's Scottie Montgomery, running backs coach for the Indianapolis Colts. I want to talk about Indiana basketball one more thing. All right, on social media, this is what I keep hearing. Going back to the past, this is terrible because it evokes Bob Knight. And with Bob Knight, you get all the imagery and all of the horror that Bob Knight brought with him. And Indiana, as they hearken back to that past, they need to address it. They need to talk about Bob Knight, and they need to assure fans and people around the country that they're not about this anymore, that what happened to Neil Reed is not going to happen to another Indiana basketball player. My head wants to explode. What the hell are you talking about? That was almost a quarter century ago. My God, Bob Knight has not been the coach at Indiana in over 20 years. I think the self-flagellation of Indiana fans, Indiana University, Indiana's athletic department, Indiana basketball must cease. That is a dim, dark part of the past that nobody remembers and nobody in high school has likely ever heard of. And if they did, it's like us looking back at something that happened in the 1940s, for God's sake. It's time to put that away and move forward. And that, I believe, is what Indiana has done. Indiana didn't hire Mike Woodson as a tip of the cap to the past. Indiana hired Mike Woodson because he's the best guy for the job and fits that position. Indiana basketball, for the longest time, hired people and then tried to, like square pegs, tried to force them into the hole. That's not the way it works. You hire people who fit. If you've ever managed a business, if you've ever run a department, you know this. You have got to hire to fit. Indiana did this time, and Mike Woodson, instead of being like a carnival barker or a one of your mortgage counselors, you've got to get in now. Into 2.75%, 30 years, woo, sign the papers. Instead of that, you got a guy who says, yeah, we're going to build basketball players and a basketball team. We're going to hold people accountable, and that's what we're going to do. And as an end, we're going to win some games. Never any conversation about the number of banners or championships or number of wins or a goal like that. It's about process, day-to-day process. Good for Mike Woodson. All right, Breakfast with Kent tomorrow morning. I cannot wait to talk to you at 6 a.m. live on Facebook and then immediately thereafter on YouTube. Hit subscribe, hit like, hit all that stuff. Ring the bell. Do it all. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning, brought to you by the great people at Today's Dentistry.